I think we can all feel that 2025 is the year to branch out with revenue streams. There are so many different ways outside of traditional advertising to earn money through your blogging business. And Meggen Wilson from Pine and Palm Kitchen joins me in this interview to talk about exactly that. She has created a food product line for her business that she sells through her website that's been very successful. And you guys, she does not hold back. She gives us every last detail from start, concept, to the absolute finish line when it comes to creating your own product. And she tells you exactly what you need to do every step of the way. This is a very juicy, detailed, value-packed conversation. And I think you'll come away inspired to create your own product in 2025. This can be a really great supplement to the other revenue that you're earning. It is episode number 653, and I hope you love it. Meggen, welcome to the podcast. It's so good to see you in person finally. How are you?
I'm great, Meggen.
Yes. Have you noticed
Dueling
that there
Meggens.
are a lot of Meggens in our space, by the way? There are a lot of Meggen food bloggers.
I haven't noticed that.
And
I'm
all
an
spell
older
our names
Meggen.
differently. Well, I'm older too, so we represent the old Meggen club. But there's Meggen spelled every way you can imagine. It's so awesome. I love it. So I'm glad to connect with another Meggen.
I know. Yay,
And you
Team
live in my
Meggen.
favorite. You live in my favorite place, so I'm going to come visit you this summer.
Definitely come visit me. I live in my favorite place. My husband and I pinch ourselves daily.
Mm-hmm.
We can't believe our view of Glacier National Park and Big Mountain, and we walk every night and every morning, and we just can't believe we're so blessed to live here.
I know.
Great. And we have no one around us. We just have acres of trees and woods and lakes, and it is, but don't tell anybody.
I know. It is such a well-kept secret. It is the most beautiful place I've ever been. It's my place of peace and joy and comfort. I love going there, which is why we do it every year.
Good. I love that.
Yes. So we're going to talk today about monetizing your blogging business through a product line. Before we get into that, do you have a fun fact to share with us?
I do have a fun fact, and I really thought about this because I wanted to give something that really resonated with themes that you talk about. And one thing you talk about is the importance of community. So I grew up in the same house where Pat Frank, the author, wrote the novel Alas, Babylon. And if you've never heard of it, it was written in 1959, and it's all about a nuclear war between Russia and the U.S. And I know you're thinking, what does that have to do with the importance of community? But it's all about this dystopian society and how the community comes together after this nuclear war. Like all the big cities are gone, and this little town where I grew up in, he wrote the book in the house where I grew up in. And it's all about how important the community came together. And that really resonates with food bloggers because we know we just can't do it on our own. We really have to reach out to other people and have a mastermind group or listen to podcasts like yours. So that's my fun fact. I grew up in a house where a really cool book was written.
Oh my gosh, it's built into your DNA to have that core belief in you almost, right? That's really cool.
Almost 15 years in that house. It's a really cool house in Tangerine, Florida, very rural and out in the middle of the boondocks, but a lot of history in that house.
Oh, that's right. So you have a history in Florida, which is why your blog name is the way it is. So that leads great to tell us a little bit about your blog.
It's Pine and Palm Kitchen. Pine because I live in the Pines in Montana, and Palm because I'm a fifth generation Floridian. My mother has a cooking school. She's in her late 80s. She's had a cooking school for over 40 years. And so I really grew up around that culture and Southern cooks. So my blog is all about taking my Southern roots, but incorporating where I live now in the Northwest and Pacific Northwest foods as well. So you'll see a lot of old Southern foods kind of with a Pacific Northwest Rocky twist to it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love your recipes. They look so delicious all the time.
Thank you. I've been cooking a long time for a lot of kids. And so it's fun to share it with people.
Absolutely. And how old is your blog?
I started my blog in 2017 and hired all the wrong people at the get-go. Like so many of us do. It was kind of, a
Yeah.
friend's kid who kind of could make websites, and we had a Wix website, and it
Yeah.
was just a train wreck. And I honestly thought back in 2017, if I put down my Southern banana pudding recipe, millions of people would flock to it.
Yeah.
And that was really before SEO or anything. And now I've learned a lot. I have a really good team in place, and I don't know how I would do it without my web designer and graphic designer and virtual assistants and my mastermind group. I really believe how it's so important to have another group of bloggers around you. And so I have a group of women around me that are all kind of my age, late 50s, early 60s. And we've raised our kids, and our kids are gone. And we really say, okay, how does this work? And between
Yeah.
the 7
It's
or
so
8 of us, we figure it
important.
out.
Right. No, it is so, I don't know how people do it without community. It seems impossible now that I'm immersed in so many different groups of people. I don't know how people function without it. It's so imperative, I think.
Well, you make it look easy.
Oh, well, good. Thank you. Okay, so that's an awesome background about your blog. And so you've been doing this since 2017. So that's 7, 8 years now. So
Yeah,
you've
I don't
been
even
doing it
know.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at what point did you get into an ad network?
That was a few years ago, but when I launched my product line online, we paused the ad network because I didn't want the ads to deter people from being on the website and really looking at the products. And I made more money online selling my own product line than I did from ad
Oh,
revenue. So, and we can get into that in a minute.
yeah.
I actually am, and I talked to you a minute ago about that. We're rebranding the product line this year to kind of separate it from the website because we're so immersed in Montana, and I source my products from Montana, like my vanilla paste. We use a local distillery, and we get our vodka from him wholesale. Our honey that we use, we get here in the Flathead Valley. My apples for my apple cider vinegar. I
Mm.
pick myself at this little farm, little
Wow.
orchard down on Finley Point on Flathead Lake. So we really wanted to take, anything to do with the website and separate that. So we're rebranding the product line this year. So that's
Okay.
a whole nother thing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I bet. I bet that is a lot. So your website does have ads back. So the ads came back after a while?
Yeah, once we separate the two, the ads will come back.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. So what made you decide to start a product line? Was it the products itself or was it just to add extra revenue?
It was a complete accident. We never
Oh.
planned to do this. So my
Oh,
husband and
wow.
I, one year we were driving our youngest daughter from Montana to Washington. She went to University of Washington, and we were dropping her off at school. And anybody who's ever driven on I-90 outside of Seattle knows Thorpe Produce. It's this massive produce stand. And I'm really into canning and food preservation. We've got a barn, and it's got a cold pantry in it, and it's filled with tomato sauce and jams and all of my potatoes and garlic and all this stuff that I put in there all winter long. And so we picked up from Thorpe Produce 40 pounds of apples and peaches, as one would.
Wow, that's a
And so,
lot.
yeah, so I make chunky applesauce, and I make this bourbon peach jam, and both those recipes are on my website. But I had all this scrap left over afterwards, and I was going through all my canning books, trying to figure out what to do with all this apple scrap and cores and peels and stuff. And I discovered I could make an apple cider vinegar. And so I did it, and I learned all about fermentation. And solely by accident, I made this absolutely incredible apple cider vinegar, and it had a really soft pH. It wasn't like a commercial apple cider vinegar that, when you take a shot of it, it just burns your throat. It was
Yeah.
really soft, very apple forward, almost floral. And my husband's like, quit making it and giving it away. Why don't you sell this stuff? And so we decided to do that. And at the same time, I'd been making my own vanilla extract. And anybody, I know you have a lot of really sharp foodies listening to this, and we've all tried to make extract at some point, but it's really hard. Extract requires a massive amount of beans, the right kind of alcohol, and it's not just about sticking them in a bottle and putting them in your cupboard. You really you might want to sous vide it to really extract the flavor out of the pod. There's so many things that are involved in it, and then decanting it correctly. And so I just started leaning into that. So we make, vanilla paste, we make vanilla extract, vanilla sugar, vanilla maple syrup, apple cider vinegar, and then we have 2 lines of a vinegar-based cleaning product that's all organic. And all of the herbs and oils and flowers that go into the cleaning product we grow here on our property in Montana.
Oh,
So
wow.
we kind of just fell into it by accident, not meaning at all to really start a product line. It just sort of organically happened just because I
That's so
love food
cool.
preservation.
Yeah. No, I love how that fell into your lap. That means that it was right, I think,
It was a
when those things
passion. It was
happen.
a
Yeah.
passion.
And it aligned with a passion. So now where do you get your supplies now? Do you go to the same place? Or do you go
um,
all around the Flathead area to get everything?
That's a really good question. I source as much as I can in the Flathead Valley. So all of my vodka that we use in our vanilla products come from Glacier Distilling Company over in West Glacier, right outside of Glacier National Park. And they sell me, oh my gosh, Megan, every time I pick it up, I think if I get in an accident, my car will blow up. But they sell me 180 proof vodka, and then we cut it. We cut it and cut it and cut it and cut it. But it comes in this huge plastic container. It's massive, and it takes like 2 men to like lift it and put it into the back of our truck.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we store it, in our cold pantry warehouse, and then we have, oh my gosh, thousands of dollars of vanilla beans in
Wow.
anything from 1 to 5 gallon containers being extracted at any given moment. Plus, we always have vinegar in the works. It's kind of crazy, but
Wow. Yeah.
we source as much as we can here in the valley. Obviously, vanilla beans do not grow in Montana. They're a tropical product, but I belong to a vanilla bean co-op, which, funny enough, is out of Utah, so it's still in the Rockies. And I'm really
Okay.
picky about where we source our beans. We source them from Madagascar, Papua New Guinea, Uganda, Tahiti, and beans are very much like wine. They have different flavor profiles. Sometimes they're smoky, sometimes they're floral. So depending on what I want to do with them, how I want the extract to unfold, that's, the bean I'll order. I'm
Okay. And
really
what is
picky.
yeah, you should be, right? If you're putting the time and love into it like you are, you should be picky. What is your most popular product?
For sure, the vanilla paste.
Okay.
It is so good. You could just eat it with a spoon right out of the container. And then this year, we've really listened to our clients, and it's all small batch. It's all, handcrafted, but we really heard our clients, and they said, we just don't want sugar in it anymore. So now I'm pivoting, and I'm going to do a honey based vanilla paste
Hmm.
too. So I'm working with a honey provider here in Flathead County to put in a really mild honey, because you don't want to overpower that vanilla with a really strong, like a blackberry honey that would overpower the vanilla. We still want something with a really soft profile. And so we're kind of shifting. So we're going to have a sugar-based vanilla paste for just regular bakers, and then a honey one for people who want that just extra elevated product. So I
Yeah.
listened to my clients, and they really wanted that. And then the second most popular easily is our vanilla maple syrup. It is so good. I put it in everything from an old fashioned to waffles. I mean, I put it in
Ooh.
coffee in the morning. It's incredible. It's so good.
Oh my gosh. I
And
need
there's
to
whole beans in every bottle. We hot
oh,
pack it with a vanilla bean in every bottle, so it continues to extrude those flavors from the vanilla. It's so good. And then when you're done, rinse off the vanilla bean and stick it in your sugar bowl.
delicious. This
Yeah,
looks
it's like gift
amazing.
with purchase.
Oh my goodness. So who are most of your clients? How do they find you?
Um, kind of from everywhere. Yesterday, we shipped to Washington State. We shipped to Florida, Texas, New York. People find us because I work out of the farmers market here in Whitefish in the summers. I also do pop-up markets. I've done a pop-up store in a wine shop in Orlando, Florida.
Hmm.
And so people find me and then they, sign up for the newsletter and they can go on my website and order online. So we usually, once somebody buys one product, they'll reorder. We probably have 80% of our clients reorder. I have a woman who drives from Missoula and buys cases of the apple cider vinegar and
Wow.
gives it out as presents. And I meet her at the parking lot at Lowe's.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's
yeah,
so funny.
I know. It's like, what shady business is that woman running out of her car? But I'm just selling vinegar and vanilla.
Oh, that's so great though that you have such a loyal customer base that they want to drive and meet you and get your product. That says a
Yeah,
lot about your product.
I love my clients and I really listen to
Oh,
what they want. And, it's kind of like your community on your blog. We're really told, to lean into your community. And I do that as well with this product line. I really listen to what people ask for. I had some chefs in town who said, "Hey, I really want to use your vanilla paste, but can you make it for me in a quart?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you bet I can make a quart of vanilla paste for you. 1,000% I can." So,
yeah.
yeah.
I am planning to get every product of yours because no, I'm serious because I use apple cider vinegar all the time.
Mm,
Vanilla bean paste, you sounds like it's amazing. It's your number
it's
one
amazing.
product.
Yeah.
I can't not try that. And then I'm always using vanilla extract
Yeah.
and the vanilla maple.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to be a new client, Meggen. I'm so excited. Well, let's talk
Thanks.
about where your revenue comes from. So if you had ads or when you had ads, I guess
Yes.
you said that the products are bringing in more revenue than the revenue were getting from ads.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of wanted to back up a little bit and talk about that. So, when we monetize our website, we have our ad revenue. We have digital products like your e-cookbooks, maybe a tutorial on pastry making or meal planning or how to have the perfect pantry. And then we've got your Amazon or brand affiliates. So you have all those streams of income, and those are fantastic, but you don't have a lot of control over them. And when you launch your own product line, or your own line of merchandise, you can completely control what you're putting out there, what the price is going to be, how much you're going to manufacture, who you're going to market to, and you can be much more targeted and it puts you in control. And maybe that's who I am after 50 plus years. But I like that I can really control what my website looks like and not have pop-up ads and things and just make a really beautiful landing page for people looking for these products.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good perspective to have. And I think as you do get to the point where you're blogging longer, so you're a more experienced blogger, those things are more important to you
Mm-hmm.
versus when you're starting, you're just like, get my website up, get all
Yeah.
the ads on, I want the money, which
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
That's just the stage that you're in. So you've evolved into really focusing on your products and the quality of them. And would you say that your blog, what would be the main area of your business if you were to say, are you a product person blogging or are you a blogger with a product line?
I am a small food manufacturer at this point with a really beautiful blog that supports it. And my community, my mastermind, my web designer, we all are kind of in agreement that all the posts that I'm writing moving forward really should be amplifying those products. So as
Oh
much as
yeah.
I want to, maybe do a pot roast, if it doesn't have one of my products in it, I don't know that I'm serving my
Hmm.
community well. But that's really part of a journey. I really, I've raised all my kids and I've had at so many dinner parties and entertained so much. I really look at the blog holistically. What would I want if I was looking for something? So, I have it's a pretty well-rounded blog in those terms, but moving forward, you see a lot more things that really elevate the product line. But it has been a journey to get to making apple cider vinegar and vanilla out of your home from a cottage license to a commercial license is a journey. And so that's what I really want to share with your listeners today, like how you do that. Because it's not just, oh, I want to make vanilla. How do I do that? Or whatever. There is a real process to it.
Okay, let's talk about that. So where do you start with it? First, I guess concept. You came upon yours accidentally, but if that doesn't happen to others, how do they go about figuring out what to create?
And that's exactly the first word I was going to use is what. And I'm going to turn it on you a little bit because I know you have a chili recipe on your website you were really proud of. And I was looking at it the other day and it's a great chili recipe. I love all the fresh vegetables you put in it. And you have a really beautiful blend of spices. So I thought, gosh, if I was Meggen Porta, maybe I would take that incredible chili recipe I have and put together a spice blend for people and upsell that
Ah,
on my website. So not only are people getting this amazing chili recipe, they've got a little spice blend that you've already got and they can use it for fajitas or tacos or put it in chili or put it in a dip and you give them recipes for that. So look at the what, look at your website and think what recipes really shine, what really resonates with my readership, what is something I'm passionate about, and maybe take it from there. Then you want to look at the market share of that product. So I did a little digging. So if I was doing Meggen's, amazing spice blend, I go to Fortune Business Insights before I ever add a product. And I'll send that link in our show notes for your viewers. So Fortune Business Insights, and I'll look at a market study of where spice blends are in the U.S. market. And I did. So right now, spice blends are a $7.4 billion business in
whew.
the US. And then I looked at what's been happening in that market. So like last year, Tabitha Brown, who we all know, she partnered with McCormick and she's doing a line of salt-free spice blends. Kraft Heinz is launching a US-based line of spice blends. So that says to me, hey, this is a pretty hot area. And I have some chefs that have shared spice blends with me. And I think that's something you could offer up. So that's where you go. You like, okay, I've got a concept, I've got an idea, I'm going to test it. And then step two.
Okay.
So step two, you've got to do your product testing. And one thing I really love is Shark Tank. And I know that's
Mm,
going to kind of sound funny, but go and look at Shark Tank and see the successes and the failures because you'll learn a lot. You'll learn about, does something need to be refrigerated? Is something shelf stable? And it's a really good resource. You can just sort of, fast forward through old ones and kind of see what things really worked in that market. And you can also learn a lot of industry lingo too. So that helps a lot.
mhm.
Then you need to have access to capital. So this is where a profitable website can really help your viewers. And I would recommend you have $5,000 to $10,000 in capital, not a credit card, but capital, cash on hand. Because in the beginning, you are going to run in the red. You're not going to be in the black for a year or two. And you don't want to pay interest on a credit card or be worrying about a line of
Mm,
credit on your house or something to launch a product line. So if you have a product you're really excited about, maybe really take 6 months to plan this out and set aside $5,000 to $10,000 in capital because you will burn through that pretty
mm.
quickly trying to set everything up. So that's the what, and capital's the next one. And so then you got to think about where you want to go on a license. Do you want a cottage license or a commercial license?
I don't know. How do you decide that?
I always recommend to folks to go cottage at first because you really need to have a proof of concept on your product. So we've got Meggen's Spice Blend, but how are we going to know if it's going to work? So we need to test the market and see if people want to buy it. So if you get a cottage license and you get those through your local health department, your county health department, they usually cost anywhere from 25 to 100 bucks. And a cottage license allows you to manufacture at home. It says this is a product that has approved that you can manufacture, label, put it in a little container, and the labeling on it is very different than a commercial label. So it allows someone who's a food entrepreneur to take baby steps. You have to walk before you run. And so a cottage license is a really low investment to see if your product works. So say you've got your labeling done, you've got to get your packaging. I always tell everybody, just order 1 or 2 packages at first to make sure the label works. And then you have to show that to the health department and they approve the label. They have very specific language on a cottage license, and you can design a label on Canva, or you can do like we did. I mean, we hired a graphic designer to do our labels, and we trademarked them right away. It was just such a beautiful label. We wanted to invest in that and have a really gorgeous, sexy product. And I just couldn't do that on my own. I didn't have the skill set to do it on Canva, so I hired somebody to do it for me.
Yeah.
So if I were Meggen Porta and I have my amazing spice blend and I'm trying to figure out where to test it, you can go to farmers markets. You can go to little pop-up markets. There are festivals all the time, especially in the summer. Another idea is to maybe reach out to a little shop, like maybe a local butcher in your town, and you say to him, hey, it's Father's Day weekend, it's Super Bowl weekend. Let's make a big batch of my chili. Let's give it to your clients and have my spice blend right there. And I'll advertise on my social media, you advertise on yours, and let's see if this product goes anywhere. And so maybe you can do that. It's a great way to test a product without investing that whole $5,000 or $10,000. You're maybe in $500 at that point. So that's a great way. And then you get some feedback from some clients. They'll say, yeah, it was too salty. It was too spicy. You can adjust and really make that proof of concept, nail it, absolutely nail it. And that's something I constantly I had somebody the other day email me and say, hey, I have a really good idea. What if we did vanilla bitters? And I was like, ooh, vanilla bitters. That sounds interesting. So now I've got to get the team together and say, okay, under my license, can we do bitters? So always looking for things like that. So if you do cottage license at first, it's a great way to just sort of, put your toe in the water without drowning.
Is it easy to go from cottage to commercial?
I think it helps a lot. You just know more of what the county wants. You know what the government's going to require from a licensing point, and it just gets you down the road a little bit. That being said, the goal for your listeners is to get their product on their website and sell it. To do that, you have to have a commercial license, and there are 2 ways you can do it. You can go where you get the commercial license yourself, or you can use a co-packer. And I don't know if you're familiar with a co-packer, what that is, but I can talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead and talk through that.
So a co-packer is just basically a factory where they manufacture your recipe at a large scale, and they are all over the country. There are 2 places where you can go looking for co-packers. One is specialtyfoodcopackers.com. And that's where I found one of my co-packers. And then another one is partnerslate.com. And you just enter your zip code and they'll tell you, hey, Meggen, there's a spice co-packer, outside of Texas, and you call them. You probably will call a dozen of them, and maybe 2 of them will call you back. So something to think about. So a co-packer will take your logo, your packaging, and your recipe, and they will make it at a large scale. And that's when you really need that capital to scale that company. So then they get the licensing for you. All you do is store it and then fulfill the orders. So that makes it a lot easier. Now, I am a food manufacturer myself. I had one product we tried to do with a co-packer, and I can talk about that later if we've got time, but I am too much of a control freak. So I went and got a commercial license myself. I have a food safety handling license myself. I went and had to take a test and study for it. It's called ServSafe. And so I've got a food management certificate. I've had a commercial kitchen inspected. I have an A+ rating with the health department, and I'm registered with the state. Those fees are not very high. Maybe all of that cost me $300 to do all of that. But that way I manufacture everything myself in a commercial kitchen that I lease.
Okay. And is one more, I assume it's more affordable to go the route that you went?
It is. A co-packer will generally have a minimum order. So a co-packer we worked with, we have this apple cider vinaigrette, and it is absolutely incredible. And it was a way I could kind of get my apple cider vinegar in front of people and they could try it out. I mean, who wants to take a shot of apple cider vinegar? Nobody. But I put it in a vinaigrette and kids would dip carrots in it and stuff, and they thought it was amazing. So I wanted to manufacture that. Everybody said, I don't want the recipe. I just want a bottle of this stuff. So we went to a co-packer in Washington State, and we invested quite a bit of capital, and they could not get the recipe right. They use seed oils, they use canola oil, they were using granulated garlic instead of fresh garlic, and they were using a commercial apple cider vinegar and not mine.
Oh,
So we decided to part ways, and so my husband and I are just putting that on the back burner. So sometimes a co-packer works and sometimes they don't, and it might take, finding a couple of them and figuring out which one you want. So if you're trying to make your spice blend, you might want to actually schedule a time where they're going to manufacture your spice blend and you're there in the factory on the
mm,
floor supervising it for the, one day that they're making it for you. A lot of, big commercial companies do this and sometimes small people do it. So it's just kind of all over the place. But I like manufacturing myself. I think there's a
okay.
little more of an art to it and a little more nuance. And every batch we can test and taste and make sure it's absolutely perfect. But it's not a control thing. It's a lot less money to do it that way. A
Yeah,
lot less.
absolutely. And you said you rent a commercial kitchen for that?
Yes. So when you start to get your cottage license, you can do things at home. Most counties allow you to. But if you're going the commercial route, for all of your folks listening and they want to manufacture this spice blend, you can rent out kitchens all over, and they're called ghost kitchens, and they lease out to catering companies, people who are small batch food manufacturers. Like in town, there's a guy at a ghost kitchen in Columbia Falls here. There's a salsa company, a hot sauce company, a cookie company, and they all share this commercial space. And then you schedule the time you want to go in, and it's maybe $150 every time you're in there for 3 or 4 hours. It is incredibly affordable to do this. Other places that are really good to reach out to are churches. A
Hmm.
lot of big churches have those huge commercial kitchens and they sit empty. So, maybe while your kids are at school on a Tuesday, you go in and maybe you're making a strawberry jam. You can go in there, manufacture all your strawberry jam. The county will come in and inspect it one time a year. That's it. Then you're done. And so it's a great way where you can get it into a commercial kitchen without having to go out and lease a brick and mortar space and pay, for a hood and all the things that maybe you don't need. I manufacture out of a guest ranch here in the valley, and they're closed all winter. And so we go in the winter and we batch,
Ah,
and work all winter and spring. And then when they open back up, I'm done and I've got everything in storage and I'm ready to sell. So the only thing that's bad about that is like we ran out of inventory December 8th this year. We were completely
oh,
sold out. So that was like a good problem and a bad problem. I just didn't have enough time to get back into the commercial kitchen and manufacture
mm,
more. And vanilla you can't rush, and vinegar you can't rush. Everything
right.
else we can crank out. But so a ghost kitchen is a really good way. And then there are if you just Google, say if you're in Minnesota, whatever county you're in, you can just Google ghost kitchen or commercial kitchens that you can lease. And there's usually a list of them. Community colleges are a great place to look
Hmm.
for a ghost kitchen, cooking schools. Those are really good places where you can crank out product without having to, open up a brick and mortar store.
Yeah. Okay, so once you have tested and you feel good about, you're either doing all of that or a co-packer is doing it for you.
Yeah.
You're set on that. Then where do you go from there?
So from there, then you want to get if you're going to sell, like at the farmer's market, like I did, you're going to get a little square, a little, credit card processing thing, and you can buy them at Walmart for 20, $30. So you want to get a Square account. You'll link it to your bank account. and make sure you have food safety insurance. There's a company called Flip, and that stands for Food Liability Insurance Protection. And it costs me, a few $100s a year for a lot of coverage. They cover caterers and private chefs and small food manufacturers. Once you hit a certain number, you've got to go out and get a little bit more liability insurance. But that company Flip is really good. You get everything online, just enter what you make, and it's super easy to insure with them. So I highly recommend them. Almost every small food manufacturer I know uses Flip, so they're a great resource. So you've got your Square account set up, you've got your insurance, you've got your commercial kitchen, you've got your license, and then you're ready to sell. So if you've got a farmer's market in your area, try that out for a year. Sell at the farmer's market and little pop-up markets before you put it on your website. I just think it's a really good way to connect with people in your community. If you live in a touristy area like me, even better, because you have a huge swath of people that come in from all over, so you can really build your brand that way. But I just love doing a farmer's market for 3 to 6 months. It really helps you tweak your product and make sure in real time your customers are getting a really, really good product. If you're going to go to all this trouble, you want to manufacture something really special.
Right.
Then if you want to put it online, work with a web designer to set up a Shopify site. Shopify is absolutely the easiest way. I have WordPress, and Shopify works pretty well with WordPress. We had a couple of little instances where Shopify and WordPress would fight each other, like my search engine on my website completely shut down. And
Oh, wow.
it took my web server, it took them a while to figure out what was going on, and it was something with Shopify. So you set up your Shopify site and you figure out your packaging and you figure out your shipping. I ship through Pirate Ship. I don't stand in line at the post office or UPS. Pirate Ship for my company is a discounted shipping. I ship only pretty much UPS. And you print the labels out at home, and then you drop off dozens and dozens and dozens of orders every day at UPS, and they get to know you really well. But that's kind of, it's my husband's, 2.0. It's going to be his next act, is just going to UPS for me.
2.0.
Yeah. And then you got to figure out, how are people going to find me if I'm online? And so you're going to have to probably invest some time in social media, really promoting those products, promoting recipes with them. I can't remember what it was. I have a homemade vanilla coffee creamer, and I did a really cute video of how I make it with my vanilla paste, and it's so good. So I did that and did a couple reels of that. And then I did something with oatmeal, but I put the vanilla maple syrup in it, and I had some beautiful photography of the maple syrup drizzle. And so, you got to invest some time in some photography to have some really great images for your website. And, putting ads on Google, Meta, Pinterest, and getting reviews. Those are the keys. Once you have a product out there, ask your friends, hey, give me a 5-star review on this product. That's huge. And then, of course, register with Google. So Google knows you're out there selling Meggen's amazing spice blend for chili and fajitas and tacos.
I love your idea, and I love that you have researched this and formulated a business plan for me. Thank you, Meggen. I love it so much.
It's all yours. No charge for that.
No, I mean, you really do take us through a fairly straightforward process. It's not like there's anything weird. It just seems like you need to be patient and go through the steps and give the testing and getting feedback some time, right?
Absolutely. I think listening to the customer is so important. I've tweaked that over and over again. It's like, shifting our vanilla paste to a honey because people just didn't want, even though we were using raw organic sugar, they see sugar on an ingredient label, and it kind of freaks them out a little bit. So it's steps, and it's really being patient. I think it's a really good idea. I loved your podcast you did the other day about goal setting, because I have a 5-year plan from actually started
Mm-hmm.
last year, but another, I look at it and really set 5-year plans where the company wants to go, where this food brand's going to go. And so part of it last year was saying, we need to rebrand. And so we're in the process of doing that, but it's taken me years to get there. So
Mm-hmm.
you really do need to walk before you run and plan it out and be willing to pivot. When I first started making my apple cider vinegar, we had 3 varietals. We had a Fuji, we had a Pacific Rose, and a Honey Crisp. And they all sold fine, but that was so much work sourcing
Mm-hmm.
organic Pacific roast apples or Pacific Rose apples that were grown here in the Flathead. It was just getting impossible. Everybody was spraying with copper and everything. And so we just said, we're just going to do Honey Crisp. And then we also had some failures. We tried to do a Ruby Mac apple cider vinegar and we couldn't get it to turn. It just tasted like dirty water. We could not get any acid coming out of it. And that's okay. So I'm letting your listeners know, we invested a lot of money in these beautiful Ruby Mac apples and they were a bust.
Yeah.
So they went, oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about how many gallons we had to dump, but it was a lot.
But that's part of the process, right? The
Yes.
experimentation. You're not always going to hit a home run.
1,000%. It's kind of like this co-packer I worked with in Washington. They came so highly recommended, and they actually had the name gourmet in their company name. And they were like, yeah, if we use olive oil, your cost per bottle is going to be $8.99 and you'd have to retail it for $20. And no one's going to buy a bottle of vinaigrette for $20.
Yeah.
And they're right. So that was kind of, we've got to figure out what to do with that vinaigrette. So it's on the back burner for now. It's not a priority. So we're working with the products that sell.
Yeah, absolutely. What is working and run with that. I can see this being a new pursuit for a lot of food bloggers, just with all the stuff that's going on with Google and the HCU updates constantly coming at us. I know that a lot of food bloggers are so creative, right? They have so many ideas. So I think every food blogger could probably come up with a handful of ideas on the spot about what to create for a product. So I can see this being a really viable pursuit for people in 2025. And I don't know if, I've had the ideas in the past. I've never had Meggen's spice blend idea before. That sounds like a home run. But I think this is such great information, and just thank you for sharing all of what you've learned in your journey. You've been through the whole process from start to finish, and you're still operating this business.
Yeah. I think if your listeners are really interested in it, go to Fortune Business Insights, search for the product they're looking for, and do a little digging. And I don't necessarily, don't ask family and friends. Sometimes they always say, oh, there's a million hot sauces out there. Like every dad during COVID was making hot sauce out of their garage. So probably not a hot sauce. But they might have some absolutely incredible jam, or they might have a ketchup, they might have a spice blend, and then they might have a product line. Maybe you're going to design an amazing apron and it's got a pocket for your phone and pockets for pencils and things. So it could be, maybe a product that's not necessarily food. Sure. And then you control it. You control distribution. You control what the price is set at. You control shipping. You control everything. You're not dependent on, whether or not your store on Amazon is selling your Dutch ovens that you put out there. So I like that idea of, being in control and putting something out there that people really love. I'm very proud of the product line. We've worked really hard at it. So it's been probably one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done as a business person.
That's amazing. And it all started with that accidental find.
Thorpe Produce. I bought way too many apples.
What a great story. It's all come together for you, Meggen. It's so inspiring. Is there anything else you feel people need to know about the process or getting started, or anything else before we start saying goodbye?
I think just, really contact your county health department, the people who work for your county extension offices and the county health department. I cannot say enough nice things about them. The woman I work with at the state level, her name is Sadie, and she really helped me get my labels right. They do an incredible job. And so these people, these local health departments sit behind their desks all day and they want you to be successful. So definitely reach out to them if you've got an idea and say, hey, has this come across your desk? Actually, in the state of Montana, they did not know how to categorize me at first because there's alcohol and vanilla. And at first the state was saying, well, we need her to pull a liquor license, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then finally I called my senator and we made some phone calls and they said, no one's going to get drunk off of vanilla extract. So they kind of created a brand new category for me. I was the only manufacturer with a commercial license in the state of Montana.
Wow.
So, and that's because the county health department and the state health department really wanted us to be successful. So definitely
it's worth it to make those phone calls.
Yeah. You're paying taxes for it. So
absolutely.
They're happy to help you.
Yep. Make the most of it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Meggen. This is amazing. And just the value you share. Food bloggers are so good at being generous with their information, and you have done that today. So we appreciate you, and best of luck to you in your continued journey with product sales. And I hope to see you this summer in person.
I know. We'll have to go for a hike in Glacier. I'll show you where all the grizzly bears are.
Oh my gosh. I would love it. I love hiking around that area. It's my favorite.
It's pretty amazing.
Bears, I can do without, but do you have a favorite quote or words of inspiration to end with today?
Well, I really have to end with Teddy Roosevelt, speaking of national parks. And Teddy Roosevelt has this quote about do what you can with what you have where you are. And that has been such a part of my journey and every food blogger's journey. You can only do what you've got with what you have and where you are in this journey. And of course, I love Teddy Roosevelt because he gave us our national parks. So
yes, that is
taking
special.
That full circle for you.
I love it. Great way to end. We will put together a show notes page for you, Meggen. So if you go to eatblogtalk.com/Pine and Palm Kitchen, you can find those. Tell everyone where they can find you and how to get to your store and all of that.
To buy my products, go to pineandpalmkitchen.com and you'll see store, and you can go there and order everything. We usually ship same day. We ship only in the U.S. We aren't shipping to Canada or overseas right now. You used to be able to find me at the Whitefish Farmers Market, but I don't think I'm going to be there this summer. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Great. I hope everyone goes and orders the vanilla bean paste or the vanilla maple syrup or whatever strikes your fancy. This all looks so good. I'm going to place an order after our call. Can't wait to get it. Well, thank you again, Meggen, so much for all of this. And thank you for listening, food bloggers. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this topic, be sure to watch the video shown on the screen. See you next time.